Welcome to DevOps 2.0, the ultimate JS delivery pipeline. This is a recording of a workshop we gave at the 2021 DevOps JS conference. For your convenience, we split the recording into 9 parts. For all relevant links, timestamps, and more information, see the description box below. Visual testing, in its simplest form, it can look at your app, at a website, or a specific area of that website, and it can detect changes and let you know that, hey, there's something changed in that area, and maybe you should have a look at it. Did you really want it to look this way? Please check and confirm. I want to implement a test scenario where my visual tests, they compare an existing version of the app that's on the production, so we know it looks great and runs great, to a version of the app that I have just deployed to the staging environment. So this could give me a good idea whether the app has changed in some sort of funky way before I decide to move along with the deployment process. I said that we can achieve that entirely within body infrastructure. And how can we do that? Well, first of all, we need 2 servers to do that. The first is the server that has the app running already on production, right? Our production server. And then the other server that's going to have a new version of the app running. And this is going to be our staging server, the server that we are running on one of our sandboxes. And to make these 2 come together and compare the way they look, all we need to do is we need to add a single action. And I'm going to show you just that right now. So the best starting point for this showcase is going to be copying the staging pipeline, since it already has 90%, of the steps that we need to make this work. So let me clone that pipeline. Okay, so here's the pipeline copied. And I can see, let me change its name so that we don't get confused when we look at all these pipelines. Visual tests. We've created quite a few pipelines so far, right? All I need to do to get this pipeline to perform these visual tests, these cool visual tests, is to add a dedicated visual tests action. And let me show you how it looks and how it works. So the visual tests action takes 2 addresses. The first address to the left is the URL. So this is the address that we want to test. And the baseline address, which, by the way, is optional. As I mentioned, you could only check the areas that you defined when they changed, or you could compare 2 addresses. So you would need the baseline address when you start comparing 2 versions of the app. So we are going to do just that. So what we want to do here is we are going to deploy our new changes to the staging server, and then compare the way the app looks on the staging server to the way the app looks on the production server. So as you can see, I've chosen the production server as our comparison baseline and our staging server as the one to be compared to the baseline. So to show you that this actually works, I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to remove that branch protection rule so I can quickly push straight to the main branch. I know this is not really secure, but for the purpose of this workshop, I hope that you could forgive me that I'm breaking my own rules. So let's delete that. And this has been deleted. So now, since there are no protection rules, I'll be able to quickly push changes to the master branch. So let's change something that will change the app visually. And I think that the simplest and the quickest thing would be, again, changing the header text from Hello JS Nation to visual tests rule, right? And what branch am I on? Let's go back to the main branch. And now let's introduce the change visual tests rule. Right.
Okay, so we can see that there are unstaged changes. Let me put the pipelines list in the background here. And let's do this. Let's add all changes to our stash. Let's create a commit. Let's call it v2. And now let's push the changes. Okay. And what I can do here, I can run this pipeline manually. We can stop this execution. We don't really need that to run right now. You can see that since we have disabled the branch protection rule, our pipeline, since we can push to master is also naturally a branch. So our pipeline that runs unit tests on branches is triggered also by pushing changes to the master branch. But for now, let's focus on the pipeline that runs the app on runs our visual tests. Let's have a look at the execution. Visual tests this action by default. It stays in this state and asks you to approve the result. So when you click approve, you are not actually saying yes, I approve, but you have to have a look at the app. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it with me sharing the screen. Let's try to zoom. Okay. As you can see, the visual tests, they mark the area where the changes have been detected. This is the behavior of the difference tab. But if we use the swipe option, we can swipe between the two versions of the app. So the first version is Hello.js Nation. So this is our baseline, and this is the version that we have just deployed to our staging server. And you know what, visual test rule, this is as good as a heading for this app as any. So I'm going to approve that. And as a result, our pipeline run the visual tests successfully. So there you go, yet another way to test your application. And the looks might not be that important or important at all when it comes to people, but when it comes to applications, well, you better get them sorted out. There are so many beautiful and functional apps that yours should be not only functional, but also look great as well. So these visual tests might come in handy, and it's great that you can run them all in Buddy.